The Church Growth and Giving Show, your resource for growing faithful communities. Brought to you by Vanco, helping tens of thousands of churches thrive for over 20 years. Join Jordan and Hannah as they share insights drawn from decades of church giving and engagement expertise.
I was thinking this morning about something that comes up a lot when I talk to church leaders. It's all about the nitty gritty, the behind the scenes stuff that keeps a church running smoothly, legally, and financially.
Oh, you mean beyond the sermons and the Sunday services? Like, the actual structure of the church as an organization?
Exactly. And today, we're diving into a topic that might sound a little technical, maybe even a bit intimidating at first. But trust me, it's absolutely crucial for any church that's looking to grow and thrive. We're talking about 501c3 status.
Right, I've heard that term thrown around. Isn't that something about taxes? Like being tax exempt?
You're on the right track. In simple terms, it is a designation from the IRS. It basically says, hey, this organization is operating for religious, charitable, or educational purposes, and therefore it qualifies for certain tax benefits. And for churches, it's a really big deal.
Okay, so why is it such a big deal for churches specifically? I mean, do churches have to apply for it?
That's a great first question. And the interesting thing is, most churches in the US are automatically considered tax exempt by the IRS, even without formally applying for the status. It's a bit of a unique situation for religious organizations.
Wait, really? So if they're already tax exempt, why are we even talking about it? What's the point of going through the process if you already get the main benefit?
That's the million-dollar question, Hannah. While it's true that churches often get automatic tax exemption, officially becoming a 501c3 church unlocks a whole other level of advantages. Think of it like having a basic driver's license versus getting a commercial driver's license. Both let you drive, but the commercial one opens up way more opportunities, right?
I like that analogy. So what are these commercial driver's license type benefits for churches with the status?
Well, the biggest one, and probably the most impactful for church growth and giving, is that it allows your church to receive tax deductible donations.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. So when people donate to a church with this status, they can deduct that donation from their taxes?
Precisely. And that's a huge incentive for people to give. It's not just about generosity, although that's a big part of it, of course. It also provides a tangible financial benefit for the donor. Knowing that their contribution is tax deductible can significantly encourage larger and more consistent giving.
Definitely. That tax deduction is always a nice perk. It makes you feel like you're being smart with your giving, as well as generous.
And it builds trust too. When a church is a recognized 501c3, it signals to potential donors that they are operating legitimately, transparently, and according to federal guidelines. It adds a layer of credibility.
Credibility is huge, especially these days. People want to know that their money is going to a trustworthy place, especially when it comes to charitable giving.
Absolutely. And it's not just about donor confidence. The status can also open doors to other financial advantages for the church itself. Things like property tax exemptions in some areas, access to grants, and funding opportunities that are specifically for tax exempt organizations.
Grants? Like foundation grants.
Yes, many foundations and grant making organizations will only provide funding to groups that have the official status. So, if your church has big dreams for community outreach programs, building projects, or special ministries, being a 501c3 can be essential to accessing those resources.
Wow, okay. Suddenly, this thing seems a lot more important than I initially thought. So if a church is already automatically tax exempt but wants these extra benefits, they actually have to apply for the official status?
That's right. They have to take that extra step and formally apply to the IRS. It's like making it official, getting that commercial driver's license for their church.
Okay, so how does a church actually go about doing that? What's involved in applying for the status? Is it a huge, complicated process?
Well, it does involve some paperwork, of course, but it's definitely manageable, especially if you approach it systematically. The key is to understand the steps and gather the necessary documentation. The main form you'll need to become familiar with is Form 1023 from the IRS.
Sounds official. What kind of information does that form ask for?
Form 1023 is essentially the application for recognition of exemption under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. It's going to ask for detailed information about your church's organization, its operations, its finances, and its purpose. Things like your church's mission statement, your bylaws, financial records. They want to get a really clear picture of how your church operates and ensure that it meets the requirements for tax exempt status.
Bylaws. Mission statement. Okay, that sounds like the kind of stuff a church should have in place anyway, right?
Absolutely. Having those foundational documents in place is crucial for any well organized church, regardless of status. But when you're applying, you need to make sure they are clearly written and accurately reflect how your church functions. You also need to get an employer identification number, or EIN, from the IRS. Think of it as a social security number for your church. Pretty much, you submit the application to the IRS along with the required fee, and then you wait. The IRS reviews your application, and it can take some time to get approved. It really depends on the complexity of your application and how busy the IRS is at that time. It could take anywhere from a few months to sometimes even longer.
Wow, that sounds like a bit of a waiting game. Is there anything churches can do to speed up the process or make it smoother?
Definitely. The most important thing is to be thorough and accurate in your application. Double check everything. Errors or omissions can really slow things down. And make sure you've included all the necessary documentation. Think of it like preparing really well for an exam. The better prepared you are, the smoother the process will be.
Makes sense. So it's about being organized, having your documents in order, and being patient. Are there any other major rules that churches need to keep in mind? What about reporting to the IRS? Do churches have to file annual tax returns like other nonprofits?
Interestingly, when it comes to annual reporting, churches actually have a special exception. Other organizations, like charities and foundations, are required to file Form 990 every year with the IRS. This is a public disclosure form that provides information about their finances, programs, and governance. However, most churches are not required to file the Form 990.
Wait, really? So they don't have to file anything annually?
That's correct. Because of their unique status and the First Amendment considerations related to religion, churches are generally exempt from this annual filing requirement. It's another way in which churches are treated somewhat differently under tax law. Now, there are some exceptions. If a church operates certain kinds of related organizations, like a school or a hospital, those entities might have separate filing requirements.
That's actually kind of surprising. So less paperwork in that sense. But even without the Form 990 requirement, are there still best practices for financial management and transparency that 501c3 churches should follow?
Absolutely, Hannah. Even though they might not be legally required to file Form 990, maintaining detailed financial records and practicing transparency is still incredibly important. It's just good stewardship, and it builds trust with your congregation and your community.
So even though Form 990 isn't required, good financial practices are still a must. Now, what about unrelated business incomes? Is that something 501c3 churches need to be aware of?
Yes, unrelated business income, or UBI, is another important concept. The IRS taxes income from activities that are not substantially related to the church's exempt purpose. So, if a church operates a business that's not directly connected to its religious mission, that income might be taxable.
Okay, give me an example. Like, if a church runs a coffee shop in its lobby, is that unrelated business income?
It could be, depending on the specifics. If the coffee shop is primarily for the convenience of church members and visitors, and it's integrated with the church's ministry, it might be considered related. But if it's run more like a commercial business, open to the general public, with the primary purpose of generating profit, then it's more likely to be considered unrelated business income.
And if they have that kind of income, they need to report it?
Yes, if they have significant unrelated business income, they'll need to file Form 990T and pay taxes on that income. It's about ensuring that the tax exemption is primarily benefiting their religious and charitable activities, not unrelated commercial ventures.
This is all really helpful, Jordan. It sounds like 501c3 status for churches is a great thing, with lots of advantages, but it also comes with responsibilities and rules to follow. But what if a church decides that the status isn't the right fit for them? Are there alternatives?
Yes, absolutely. The status isn't the only path for churches. As we mentioned earlier, most churches are automatically considered tax exempt under the IRS rules, even without formally applying for the special status. So, they can operate as churches and receive some of the tax benefits without going through the application process.
So they can just exist as a church, be tax exempt, but not be a 501c3? What are the downsides of that approach?
Well, primarily, they're missing out on the enhanced credibility and the clear ability to offer tax deductible donations. While donations to churches are generally considered tax deductible even without formal status, having that official IRS designation provides extra assurance to donors, and it can limit access to grant funding opportunities.
Are there other alternatives besides just being automatically tax exempt but not a 501c3?
Yes, another alternative is for a church to become part of an association of churches or an integrated auxiliary. These are essentially larger umbrella organizations that can include multiple churches under their group tax exemption. This can simplify things for individual churches.
An association of churches. Like a denomination, maybe?
Sometimes, yes, denominations or other church networks can operate as associations of churches and provide group exemptions to their member churches. This can be a good option for churches that are part of a larger movement or affiliation.
And what about unincorporated religious groups? Is that another alternative?
Yes, some churches choose to operate as unincorporated religious groups. This is a more informal structure that doesn't require formal incorporation as a nonprofit organization. It can offer simplicity and flexibility, especially for smaller, newer churches, but it also comes with some trade offs.
Like what kind of trade-offs?
Primarily, unincorporated groups may have limited legal protection. The church itself might not be considered a separate legal entity, which could create liability issues for church leaders or members. And while they can still be tax exempt, it might be less clear cut in terms of things like property ownership, contracts, and legal proceedings.
So it's simpler to set up, maybe, but potentially riskier in the long run?
It really depends on the church's specific circumstances, its size, its activities, and its long term goals. For some very small, community based churches, operating as an unincorporated group might be sufficient. But as a church grows and becomes more complex, the benefits of formal 501c3 status and incorporation often outweigh the initial simplicity of being unincorporated.
This has been such a comprehensive overview, Jordan. For a church leader who's listening right now and thinking about whether 501c3 status is right for their church, what would you say is the starting point for making that decision?
The first step is really to assess your church's needs and long term goals. Think about where your church is now and where you want it to be in the future. Are you planning significant growth? Will you need to apply for grants? Do you anticipate seeking major donations? Understanding your church's vision and strategic direction is crucial.
What about getting help with the decision? Who should church leaders talk to?
I strongly recommend consulting with experienced church leaders who've been through this process. Also, seek advice from legal and financial experts who specialize in nonprofit organizations and churches. They can provide guidance based on your specific situation and help you understand the IRS rules and regulations.
And if they do decide to move forward, what resources are available to help?
There are many resources available. The IRS website has extensive information about the special status and the application process. There are also numerous publications and guides specifically for churches. We also provided a free guide in the show notes with links and more details.
Fantastic. And for our listeners who want to get their church finances organized, whether they're pursuing 501c3 status or not, you've got a great free resource available, right, Jordan?
Yes, we're offering a free church finance kit that includes everything you need to get started: templates for committee meetings, budget planning worksheets, and financial statement formats. It's perfect for church treasurers and finance teams who want to ensure proper organization and transparency.
And where can our listeners find this resource?
The download link will be right in our show notes. It's completely free and ready to use right away.
This has been such an informative discussion, Jordan. You've really helped demystify what can seem like an overwhelming topic.
Thanks, Hannah. My hope is that our listeners now have a clearer understanding.
And thank you to all our listeners for joining us on the Church Growth and Giving Show. Don't forget to check out those show notes for the free church finance kit and other helpful resources we mentioned. Join us next time for more insights on growing your church and maximizing your impact.